were determined to rebuild and restore. Where freedom rise and truth prevails, our land where there's hope for us all. Our land where there's hope for us all. We'll defend our land. We believe in this nation, and we know we'll get there. We'll defend our land. We believe in Nigeria and the promise she holds, and that one day we'll shine like the sun. We're a great nation. Though we are many people, different tribes, different tongues, we're united in our strength and resolve to uphold the honor.
Welcome to the Human Rights Cafe. My name is Jacob Sule. When people's rights are tampered with or denied, it means that my rights and yours are being undermined. Hence, we must educate people about their rights. The Human Rights Cafe is a collaborative virtual conversation of a Right to Live initiative to equip new generation of leaders to know, promote, and protect citizens' rights and dignity of all persons. The conversation seeks to promote human rights, justice, peace, and strong institutions as provided for by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Our goal is to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign and respect for citizens' rights. If you'd like to know more about the Human Rights Cafe, please join our conversation on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter via @HRightsCafe. Once again, Jacob Sule. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning for where you are joining this conversation from. Welcome to the Human Rights Cafe conversation, streaming live from Washington, D.C. My name is Jacob Sule. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all to today's chat. Two guests will discuss the conversation today with me, and to viewers who are joining on our various platforms, thank you so much for joining us. Please feel free to send in your questions, and do not forget to subscribe to our channel. I have with me two gentlemen who will be speaking from Nigeria as regards the forthcoming general election in Nigeria. I would like to welcome Mr. Bukola Idowu. Mr. Bukola Idowu, thank you so much for joining us on the chat today.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I also have joining me from Abuja, Nigeria's capital territory, Mr. Paul James. Thank you, Mr. Paul, for joining us on the chat today.
Thank you for the invitation, Jacob.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bukola, quickly, for those who are watching you, would you like to quickly introduce yourself so people could have a very great understanding of who you are and the type of work in which you do?
My name is Bukola Ido. I'm the team lead of Kimpact Development Initiative, KDI. Our work is on policy advocacy, good governance, which election is core part, and then we uh, promote democratic, what we call democratic governance. So, in a nutshell, we normally tell ourselves that we work for democracy and make democracy work, and that is just in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Paul, very quickly, because of our time, can you tell us about yourself, the organization you work for, and so that people who are watching across platform can know you better as well?
My name is Paul James. I head the elections team at Yaga Africa. Yaga Africa is a civic non-governmental organization based in Abuja, Nigeria, that promotes human rights, democratic governance, and also civic participation. Yaga Africa has been in existence since 2007 and has worked in different areas of the electoral ecosystem in Nigeria, and also currently also working across Nigeria for the 2023 elections. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul and Mr. Bukola, for joining us. For the purpose of our viewers, particularly those who are not Nigerians and for those who are watching from different parts of the world, I'd like to start with Mr. Paul. Can you provide a brief introduction about the country called Nigeria so that people can actually understand the country we're talking of? What kind of system of government do we have in Nigeria so that we could actually lay a good background for those who are watching, maybe in like 2 seconds or thereabouts? Thank you.
Nigeria is a country in Africa, in West Africa, that is planning to go into a 7 consecutive round of general elections. Nigeria practices a presidential system of government. So much has been said that we borrow so much from the US in terms of style of government. And so we got the president, we got the National Assembly, and also the lower house, like you have in the US, the House of Assembly. We also have the 36 states with their own governors, and also as well the states houses of assembly. Nigeria Nigeria runs a 4 year cycle of elections. The last election was in 2019, and here we are again to talk about the 2023 election. We got the general election that will happen on February 25th to elect the president and also members of the House of Assembly, the National House of Assembly, and then on March 11th, another round of election for the gubernatorials in 28 states. And in 28 states, because there are some states in the country that are now doing what is called an off-cycle or off-season election. So at different state, this happens at different level, different states. We recently, in 2022, had elections in Ekiti and Osun. Perhaps soon also after the general election, we may go into the Kogi, Imo, and Bayelsa state gubernatorial elections.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for that. Mr. Bukola, you work for Impact, you lead that initiative. And I understand by your work, you have rich expertise in examining security situations when it comes to elections in Nigeria and also in Africa. Can you give us a brief overview of the current security architecture in Nigeria as we all are looking forward to the forthcoming election in a couple of days in Nigeria?
I think you are skipping. I missed the latter part.
I said, can you give us a brief overview of the security architecture in Nigeria as we all are looking forward to as we're looking forward to Nigeria's forthcoming general election?
Okay, thank you very much. I think like my brother just said, my colleagues said, we are going into the 7th consecutive election after we returned to democracy in 1999. And so this 7th election is a bit unique because this election have been before that. I want to say from 1999, our election has always been and also always been fraught in some quarters and within the country with electoral violence. So that is what we call electoral violence, and that has and that has been the challenge that we've been having over time. So in terms of election violence, and that has tightened, that have made even our election security budgets to go up anytime we are going to have an election. However, in this 2023 election is a bit unique because the country is not going to be dealing with electoral violence, which we have seen some signal. Like today, we've seen attack, thought attack political parties, political supporters of one particular candidate in Lagos. And we've seen again what happened in Uma here, and we have also seen what happened in Rivers. So what I am trying to say is that you have issue of electoral violence on ground, which is a bit on electoral security. However, we are also going into this election with all the region having peculiar insecurity issues that are peculiar to each of the region. For instance, if you go into northwest, that is where you have banditry, kidnapping, and then you come into northeast. That is where you have terrorists and terrorist attack, and then you also have issues that have to do with kidnapping. And then you come to the north central, you have issue of banditry. You also have farmer elders crisis. You also have religious crisis going on at the same time. You go to the southeast, you have issue of unknown gunmen. Secessionist agitation is going on there, and so just include southwest, south, all the region. So this now make this election very unique, that we are not likely going to be dealing with electoral violence alone, but we are also going to conduct election in the midst of insecurity. And that is what the security architecture of this election is looking like. And of course, to also talk about election security, electoral violence, that spike has been growing up. We've recorded over 400 pre-election violence cases that we've recorded, and we have recorded like about I think over 150 deaths from February 2022 to date. So this is giving you us a picture of what we are dealing with as this election gets closer.
Thank you so much, Bukola, for that rich background. I recall a couple of years ago during the 2019 general election, I also participated in that election, and there were several reports of security breach. So many people, there were so many uncertain stories from different parts of the country. Now, this is 4 years after that election. Let me now turn back to Paul. Paul, you work with IAGA, one of the top rated civil society in Nigeria and by extension in Africa. What are your concerns for this forthcoming general election? Bukola has talked about security issues, electoral violence. You as civil society groups, what are your concerns? How are you engaging the stakeholders to ensure that both the voters and those who have been voted for, the votes are secured in this forthcoming general election? Yes, what are your thoughts on that?
I think there is no better way to say it than what Bukola has said, especially concerns around how this would impact on citizens' participation. Nigeria is also a country that has been grappling with low voter turnout, averaging 35% in almost all of the elections that have been conducted. Whilst we see a new injection, new electoral art that has awakened new interest, and also the deepening of the use of technology in the election that we think can turn things around, you cannot do away with the concerns of insecurities that are happening, especially when it affects the integrity of the elections. The concerns, for instance, are even on the part of the election management body. If the elections are not conducted in an environment that perhaps inspire confidence for citizens to go and engage, or even for the the human elements that will manage the election to feel well secured to go out and engage the process, then there is a huge problem. A huge problem because the election management body has been a subject of attack. Between 2019 till this moment, over 54 attacks have been carried out on the facilities of INEC. In 2022 alone, more than 10 attacks. And this attack seems to be concentrated and in one region, which is why some of us are beginning to think, could it also be an attempt for voter suppression in those regions? Because we are beginning to see some elements of weaponization of violence if you talk about elections in Nigeria. If you go back since 2020 in Edo, for instance, in Ondo, there were all elements of pre-election related violence. All the elections that have been conducted from that moment up to this moment have been have different shades of pre-election related violence. So it's a huge concern that just barely 2 weeks or so to the election, you don't get this kind of conversation that will inspire hope or will inspire confidence. We have last December deployed our long-term observers to assist with recruiting observers that will be deployed for the presidential and the gubernatorial elections. So we had the opportunity of going to even the interior parts of Nigeria. And I can tell you that there are a lot of communities that have been deserted. At the last check, more than 9 states that I know of, we went there and could not recruit observers for the election. So which is a bit concerning because you don't even also hear from the election management body. You don't hear such information from the quarters of the security or election management body, or even hear about what they are doing to get the people to come back to participate in the process, because technically these people will be disenfranchised. These people may not be able to elect who becomes their leader come February or March. In February or come March this year. So this is concerning. You want to begin to hear conversation or communication that inspires hope. Most times what we see from the security agencies is that they leave this to the last minute. Not that they are not doing security mapping, but then you see the week of the election that they are going around and doing what they call show of force. But then if you don't do show of force before election to inspire hope that you are going to provide that security, based on what people will be seeing from the build up to the election, some may just simply make up their mind that they are not going to participate if their security is not guaranteed. So we are concerned that the underlinings of all of these things happening, if they are not nipped in the bud, and if we don't get the kind of communication that inspires hope, it will definitely affect citizen participation in the elections.
Thank you so much, Paul, for that very, very extensive response. And like I said, building on what Bukola and you have said, we could see that there is no gainsaying that we have a huge challenge in our hands when it comes to securing the voters, even securing the ballots and the lives of the electoral body that will be conducting the elections. Now, let me turn back to Bukola. I have read on several newspapers, international, local, that this is going to be the most consequential election for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And in my own understanding, we have 3 major candidates who are coming to run for office that are representing the geopolitical zones in this country. And when you trickle down a bit, you will see that each of these geopolitical zones have their own peculiar security challenges. How do you think these peculiar security threats would affect the outcome of voters in that region as we look forward to the forthcoming general election in Nigeria?
So the first thing we need to understand is that there is a correlation between election security, that is security of the voter, as it will impact on the voters' turnout. So one of the things we need to first of all understand is that now if we don't really take care of the security challenges in this election, we are already talking about reduction in participation of in this election. Don't forget, in the last election we have close to like about 32 or thereabout percent of voter turnout. So all our expectation, or what we need to do better, is to make sure that we increase that percentage. And of course, now what Nigerians need, because over the years we have seen that registered voter keep increasing, then the actual voter turnout keep decreasing. And we hope that we will be able to change the tide this time around, so that we are, as we have increased from 84 million to 93 million this time around, then we also need to increase the voter turnout. And one of the things that will stop that turnout is election security and or insecurity. That is one area we hope that need to be taken care of. And secondly, again, the election, like I said the other time, Nigeria have 6 geopolitical zone, and I can tell you, out of 6 geopolitical zone, and then we also have 18 political party feeding presidential candidate for this election. Again, one of the things you also have to know is that out of the 18, we only have 4 that are leading. We have 18, but 4 in terms of rating, in terms of polls, in terms of any yardstick you may want to use. We have 4 of them that are leading, and that is why people have said this election is a unique election, because in the past it has always been 2-horse race, PDP APC, PDP APC, but this time around we are going into with 4, of course, a strong candidate. And again, one of the things you also need to understand about this election is that out of the 6 geopolitical zone, it is only a particular geopolitical zone that does not have representation from the 4 major political party. And let me explain so that you see. The candidate of APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is from Southwest, who has gone to Northeast to pick his running mate. So what it means is that the
Sorry,
Southwest and the
sorry, Bukola, let me quickly cut you. For those who are watching who are not familiar with the acronym of the political parties, can you please make that very clear, what so that they could actually follow this conversation and ask questions going forward? Thank you.
Okay. So the candidate of APC is All Progressive Congress. Now, candidate is from southwest of Nigeria, which popularly you call the Yoruba speaking nation of Nigeria, and has gone to the northeast to pick his candidates. I mean, his running mate. So what that tells you is that there is a representation from the southwest and the northeast. Then you now come to the candidate of People Democratic Party, which is Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. He's also from the northeast, but he has come to south to pick his running mate. So northeast, south already represented. So you come to Labour Party, Peter Obi from the southeast, who has gone to the northwest to pick his running mate. So southeast, northwest represented. You now come to the candidate of NNPP, that is Kwakwazo, who is from the northwest. He has also come to the south to pick his running mate. So you find out that southwest represented in that strong leading candidate, northwest, northeast, south, and southeast. So the only region that is not represented here now is the north central. And that is why some people believe the north central might be the decider. That is one. At the same time, some people believe all attention will be on the north central, and which means that can also increase the chances of manipulation in that north central one. It can also increase the chances of violence in that north central. And at the same time, the north central, if they come together and say, look, we are going this way, wherever they are going, probably might be the decider. But having said that, what it also means is that since we returned to democracy in 1999, this is the first time that we are going to have candidates from 3 major ethnic groups in Nigeria, or that you are going to have strong candidates both from the north and from the south. If you recollect, in 1999, the contest was between Obasanjo and Olufalaye. So if you recollect, in 2011, it was I think Yaradua. I mean, it was Yaradua and Buhari. So Olufalaye and Obasanjo from the south and from the southwest. Yaradua and Buhari was from the north, and both of them are even from the same state, Castina. But look at what happened. Immediately, Yaradua died, that Jonathan wanted to contest election again on that ticket. When Jonathan won, because what you now have is that Jonathan was contesting from the south, and then Buhari from the north. When Jonathan won that election, there was high magnitude of post-election violence. In fact, Human Rights Watch said that we recorded about 800 deaths. Youth corpers who served as ad hoc staff were murdered after that election. And when you look at the results, the result clearly shows that people voted along ethnic lines. Now, come back to 2015. The same thing repeated itself when you look at the map, because it was the same Jonathan and Buhari. But if you look at the maps also, you see that, that dichotomy. Now, those are the intricacies around that. But this time around, we are having everybody across the major zones except the North Central. So what if everybody votes according to their ethnic loyalty? So are we likely going to have a runoff? What does that mean for the ballots? Are we going to have, the national spread? Because it's not going to be by simple majority. Then what does that talk to us about violence? So these are the deep analysis we need to look at when we go into this election in terms of the spread of the political parties.
Thank you so much, Ambukola, for that very interesting background. I can see from that conversation, in which, from the analysis you just made, the South appears to be the bride for this general election. Each of the political candidates have chosen representatives from that particular region of the country. Now, let me flip my question back to Paul. There have been a lot of agitations and debates around state police. Now that we have candidates coming from different geopolitical zones in the country, which appears to be a fair representation of every part of Nigeria on the ballot, what do you think the government of Nigeria should be doing when it comes to state police? What is the way forward? Do you think state police is the way forward for us to securing elections and the country at large? What is your thoughts on that very quickly, Paul?
I think it is a no-brainer to discuss the issues or support the issues of state police, because if there is one existential threat that Nigeria is currently grappling with, is the concerns around security. And my sense is intelligence gathering is local, security is local. Perhaps that could be the way to go. We have also beginning to see moves by some state governors to do what is a resemblance of state police. For instance, we have the Amotekun in the southwest. We have the Bubiagu in the southeast, and in the north you have what is called Mbanga, more like a vigilante group springing up here and there. In Benue State, for instance, it also has its own local security outfit that perhaps is providing that security. This is also because the federal policing that we have in Nigeria, where every command is concentrated at the center, becomes challenging, hugely challenging. You have even most times concerns in the states that things are happening, state governors the state security systems available could not even do anything because they are waiting for command, quote unquote, from above. So, when these things are localized, these issues are mostly localized. When policing is localized, of course, it's going to help a great deal to tackle some of those challenges that we are seeing. Most of the concerns at the moment is even in the area of intelligence gathering. Most times, this information, even when they are provided, is about the timeliness or the timeliness of when they are acted upon, because it has to go through chains of command, has to go through the national before it comes back to the state. Now, almost all of the candidates have thrown their weights around that. One of the candidates has talked about deployment, heavy deployments into the military. Others have given their own weight around the idea of even considering the idea of even the state policing. We wait to see how that will be materialized, but I think that is the way to go for Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Mr. Paul, for that. Based on, like, I truly enjoy your thoughts on that. So let me move the conversation forward a bit. Nigeria had independence in 1960, October 1st, and these are several years after independence. A lot of people have questioned the need for incorporating technology into our electoral processes, and I recall a couple of months ago, the Independent National Electoral Commission, which is a body conducting election in Nigeria, did deploy the beavers in Osun State to help in transmitting results and all of that, which actually made the process in a way to be a little bit stress free for collating officers. Now, my question is today, through technology, how do you think we can deploy technology to address issue of security during electionary process in Nigeria, particularly during the process of counting and the ballots, transmitting of results, and ensuring that these results or the personnel who are involved in this electionary process arrive safely at the collation center? So how do you think we can deploy technology in this regard to strengthening security during the electionary process? Either of you can take it within the next 1 minute, quickly.
I yield to Bukola, then I can join him.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, I think INEC started that, and we have seen reduction in for horse tracking. We have seen reduction in ballot box snatching, and then kidnapping and hijacking result when you are moving it manually to collation center, most especially from leaving polling unit to ward collation center. In the past, we've been seeing that hijacking. Now, but what we have seen with the beavers now, because the beavers has the capacity, that is technology, to transmit the results ahead, before you get there. So even if you take the hard copy, people are already saying the what is it called, the already the transmit the electronic copy. And then also there is also an IREF, where IREF is just a result portal where citizens can also see and track the results at their polling unit, and as it's been uploaded in that on that portal. However, this is what I keep saying: technology is good, but you need to know that technology is an amplifier. If you have a bad process, technology will amplify it. If you have a very good process, technology will also amplify it. And that is what we need to understand about technology. James?
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Bukola. I think to add to that bit also about how we can use technology to improve security, especially around election. I think it is easy. It's not rocket science, especially in the deployment of personnel, security personnel to polling units. It's just simple as much as just putting some cameras on their uniform. I think that will help, especially around tackling concerns around vote buying, tackling concerns even around the kind of violence that we see sometimes around the polling units on election day, or even in the outer areas of the polling units. We can start from that. The benefits of deploying technology are enormous, like Bukola has said. It will help to inspire confidence. It will help to increase participation. The new reawakening that we're seeing in the Nigerian political space or in the electoral space is perhaps because of technology. INEC provided the opportunity for people to start a pre-online registration for voter registration, and after that to go and continue at the INEC offices. INEC introduced the election resource management process, the INEC election viewing portal, where at the end of the election, people are able to see the electoral outcome in record time. I think all of these processes has helped to inspire confidence. By the new electoral law that we have, for instance, the determinant of the election, whilst it is based on the permanent voters card that are collected. It's also about the actual number of people that have come out to for accreditation, not necessarily on the number on the register. And technology will help in this regard, so that at the end of the process, everybody that had been accredited, the record is imputed on the INEC device and uploaded online, which again everybody will be able to see. When counting is done, this will be compared, and of course, if there are anomaly, then whatever the law has prescribed will then be applied from that moment.
Thank you so much, Paul and Bukola. Before we round up, let me quickly ask, we've talked more about the challenges in which we're faced with as regards security in Nigeria, because this conversation is actually focused on analyzing the security challenges and emergencies around the election. Bukola, I know you work for Kimpact Development Initiative, and I know you do a lot of work around electioneering and security and all of that. What recommendation do you think, as an organization, if you were to sit with the chairperson of the Independent National Electoral Commission now, what recommendation would you tell him? Hey, Mr. Mahmood, this is what you want us to do to fix these security challenges and to make our election safe in Nigeria. What would be your recommendation on that ground?
Well, I think I will make Professor Mahmoud the second contact I'm going to meet, but I would love to meet with Mr. President. I would love to meet with the National Assembly. Number one, we have to. The first thing we need to do is there have to be punishment for electoral offenders. Over the years, this set of people have been going on scot-free. You arrest them election per election and they go scot-free. It will interest you in Ekiti. Most of when during Ekiti election, most of the people
I think we're having network challenge and with Bukola. Mr. Paul, can I quickly get your thoughts on that while he gets to
can
face
you
his
hear me
network?
now?
Oh, yes, sure. Yes, please go ahead, Bukola.
I think if I
Oh, you can hear me
conclude,
now?
yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. So sorry about that. Let me quickly conclude. So what I mean is that in Ekiti, we have people who are arrested. We are there today. In Oshun, we have people who are arrested. Have they been going in and out of court? Who have become an ex-convict because of electoral offense? We've not seen. So electoral offense commission must be in place, and people must be able to account and pay for their for any electoral offense they've committed. Then secondly, sitting Professor Mahmoud down is, I will also say that, look, we need to understand what people are doing in the ISES. ISES is Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. At least grant some civil society, even observer status. Let's see what you are doing. Now, let's be able to give you what we call, of course, advice, or if not even advice, recommendation, and that you can be able to take. Civil society is just in the middle between the government and the citizen, and you need their opinion, even in that ISES. That ISES need to be opened up because we need to understand what they are really doing in terms of election security.
Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. Quickly.
Yeah, I think if I can add to what Bukola said, it's also about information management and acting on the information. Most times it's thought like this information is not available, it's not provided. And that is why I agree with Bukola. Sometimes opening up the space for a more civil society involvement, civil society input may help. All of this security mapping that is happening is also as a result of the kind of information or support we get from civil society collaborators. Most of us have our boots on ground. We have our ears to the ground in almost every of the locality in Nigeria. We have citizen observers that are feeding us with information. But most times it's about the timeliness of how this is acted upon. And like I mentioned earlier, when citizens don't feel secured enough to go out and engage the process, then their participation will also become problematic.
Thank you so much, Paul and Bukola. Before I let you go, I have a question from one of our viewers. His name is Ademola Taiwo. He says, I'm in Nigeria here in the United States. I'm usually concerned that we in the diaspora have little or no impact in the election process. How do you think this can be addressed going forward? Any of you want to take that in 30 seconds?
I think the first thing is amend the constitution to allow for diaspora voting.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Paul.
I think even this effort now by Jacob is also another way of participation. Open up the space for more conversation, more engagement like this. I'm sure gradually people that are supposed to hear will get to hear, and then the right thing will be done, like Bukola had also mentioned.
Thank you very sincerely, Paul and Bukola. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been talking to these two perfect gentlemen from Nigeria's capital territory who have been discussing about Nigeria's 2023 general elections, the security concerns, and emergency across Nigeria. Paul James is the head of elections and program at Yaga Africa, while Bukola is the team lead for Kimpa Development Initiative. I'd like to thank you very sincerely for joining the chat today and sharing your thoughts. And before I let you go, what will be your final words to all Nigerians in diaspora and those who are watching from home? Yes, Bukola, quickly.
Well, my word is, and my advice is, look, this election is very, very important. We have to make sure that we get it right. And let's start by participating. Those of us in Nigeria, please come out and vote, irrespective. Then let's protect our democracy. And those of us in diaspora, let's keep supporting Nigerian democracy, because that is the pathway to development, peace, and progress in the country. We must keep supporting and keep doing what we are doing to support Nigeria.
Thank you. Paul?
Well, for me, I think another opportunity is there. There is no better way to let our voices heard, if not by participating in this process. The opportunity has come. We want to encourage everyone, especially citizens in the country, to go out and cast their votes, and knowing also fully well that their votes this time will count. With the aid of technology, with also the improvement we have seen in the process, their votes will count. Poll watchers will be there. Civil society actors will also be there to ensure a credible process. For our friends in the diaspora, we also want to encourage that they continue to provide that support. And hopefully the time will come when everybody will get to participate from every part of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I wish you all a good night in Nigeria, and I will look forward to hosting you all to another section of the conversation next week. Thank you, Paul and Bukola. Have a good one.
Thank you, Jacob. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Human Rights Cafe. My name is Jacob Sule. When people's rights are tampered with or denied, it means that my rights and yours are being undermined. Hence, we must educate people about their rights. The Human Rights Cafe is a collaborative virtual conversation of a Right to Live initiative to equip new generation of leaders to know, promote, and protect citizens' rights and dignity of all persons. The conversation seeks to promote human rights, justice, peace, and strong institutions as provided for by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Our goal is to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign and respect for citizens' rights. If you'd like to know more about the Human Rights Cafe, please join our conversation on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter via @HRightsCafe. Once again, Jacob Sule.